Annex A.5.13. Labeling of information. Right picture Dave. Dave runs everything technical at a 12-person software company, and last Tuesday Dave exported a customer list to a spreadsheet, called it Final List V3, and dropped it in a shared folder called Stuff. Nothing on that file says what it is. Nothing on it says who it's for. Nothing on it says what happens if it walks out the door. Here's the thing that should genuinely bother you. 6 months earlier, that same company sat in a meeting room and built a beautiful classification scheme. Public, internal, confidential, restricted. 4 tiers, color-coded, in a policy document nobody has opened since. So the scheme exists. The scheme is lovely, and the file is called Final List V3. That gap is Annex A.5.13. Let me give you the actual wording because I want you accurate, not vibing. Control says an appropriate set of procedures for information labeling shall be developed and implemented in accordance with the classification scheme adopted by the organization. Go through that slowly, in accordance with the classification scheme adopted. This control does not stand alone. It is the delivery mechanism for Annex A Control 5.12, Classification of Information. 5.13 makes the tier visible on the thing itself. And then Annex A Control 5.10, Acceptable Use of Information and Other Associated Assets, tells people what they're allowed to do with each tier. Classify, label, handle, that's the chain. Break the middle link, and the other 2 are decoration. Because think about how a human being actually behaves. Nobody stops mid-task, opens the information security policy, finds Appendix C, and cross-references whether a customer export counts as confidential. Nobody. Not Dave, not you, not me. What people do is glance at the thing in front of them and act on what they can see. If the document says nothing, they treat it as nothing. That's not negligence. That's just how attention works. So the label is not bureaucracy. The label is the instruction, delivered at the exact moment the decision gets made. Now, where do labels actually live? The standards guidance points at the obvious places, and I want to name them properly because just add a footer is where most small companies stop. Document headers and footers. The classic confidential sitting at the top of the page, so it's on screen and it's on the printout. Email marking, subject line prefix, a line in the signature block, or a sensitivity marking in your mail platform, whatever survives a forward, because the forward is where things go sideways. File metadata. This is the one everyone skips, and it's the one that scales. A property on the file, a tag in your document management system, a sensitivity label applied by your platform. Metadata is what lets a machine make a decision. Blocking an external share, stopping an upload, flagging a download. Humans obey headers, systems obey metadata. You want both. Physical media, the backup drive, the tape, the box of paper going to the archive. Write it on the outside, revolutionary stuff. I know. And screens and reports, data exported from a system carries no memory of where it came from. If your reporting tool can stamp a classification into the export, turn it on. Right, failure modes, 3 of them, and you will recognize at least one. Failure 1, the scheme with no labels. This is the big one. You have 4 tiers on paper and 0 tiers in reality. An auditor asks Dave to show them a confidential document, and Dave opens a folder of files where absolutely nothing is marked and picks one and says, "Well, that one's confidential." How do you know? Because I know, great. What about the person who joins in March? That's not a labeling problem. That's a knowledge trapped in one head problem. And labeling is the fix. Failure 2, inconsistent labeling. Half the company writes confidential, a quarter writes internal use only, which isn't even a tier in your scheme. Someone in sales invented highly confidential because it felt more important. And there's a folder of documents from before the policy that say nothing at all. Now your labels carry no signal, If 4 different marks mean 4 different things depending on who typed them, people stop trusting the mark, and once they stop trusting it, they stop looking at it. Inconsistency doesn't weaken a labeling scheme, it kills it. Failure 3, and this one's the quiet killer. Labels that exist and are ignored. Everything is beautifully marked. Every document has confidential in the header, and nobody knows what confidential obliges them to do. Can I email it externally? Can I put it in the shared drive? Can I keep it on my laptop? If nothing follows the label is just a word. You've built a signpost pointing at an empty field. There's a cousin of that one, over-labeling. When everything is confidential, nothing is. If your default is to slap the highest tier on every single artifact, including the Office Biscuit Rota, you've trained everybody to ignore it. Cute. Also useless. So what do you actually do? And I mean you, a small company, not a bank. Pick a tiny number of tiers. 3 is plenty, 4 is the ceiling. If you're 11 people and you've built 7 tiers, please stop. Write down the exact words, not mark it appropriately. The literal strings people must type or select, so there is one and only one right answer. Put the label where the work happens. Document templates with the marking already in the header. Email signature blocks. Default sensitivity labels in your platform. If applying the label requires effort, it will not happen. Make the correct thing the lazy thing. Cover the exceptions, source code repositories, ticketing systems, chat channels, data exports, backup media. Pick a sensible marking for each and say so. And handle the legacy pile honestly. You are not going back through 9 years of files. Nobody is. Say so in your procedure. Everything new gets labeled from this date. Anything older gets labeled when it's next touched, or gets a blanket default. That's a defensible position. Pretending you retro-labeled everything is not. One more thing, and it matters for your statement of applicability. Labeling of information is not new in the 2022 revision. It carried over from the previous edition, where it lived alongside classification, and it's now consolidated into Annex A.5.13. So if someone's told you this is a shiny new obligation, it isn't. It's an old obligation you've probably been dodging for years. Sits next to Annex A.5.12 for classification. Annex A.5.10 for acceptable use. Annex A.5.14 for information transfer, because transfer rules key off the label, and Annex A.7.10 for storage media, because that drive in the drawer needs a marking too. So here's my dare, and it takes 4 minutes. Open the 5 most sensitive files your company owns: the customer export, the payroll sheet, the investor model, the credentials document, the one you'd least like on the internet. Look at each one and answer one question. Does the file itself tell a brand new employee how to treat it? If the answer is no on even one of them, you don't have a classification scheme. You have an opinion.